Hi, I welcome everyone. This is the Park and Rec Commission monthly meeting. I'm Bob Dunn, the chair. And what we're going to do is start the meeting because it is 6 o'clock, guys. Yeah, it looks like it's 6 o'clock. Yep. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the first thing is the attendance. And first, I'd like to hear what people from the Park and Rec Commission are online here. We have in this room, I have Don Bugby and Jeff Flower and myself, John Flower and myself, sorry. And who's out there in telephone land?
Glenn is here.
Missy's here.
Glenn and Missy, okay, good.
Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen, good. Anybody? What's that?
Tim is here.
Oh, Tim? Okay, good. So I think the only one, is Brendan out there?
I'm here. I just clocked in.
Oh, okay. All right. So Brendan's here. So I think the whole gang is here. And any guests out there that are listening to this?
Jim Ward.
Okay, Jim, yes. We're going to talk about your thing later on the agenda. Yeah, go ahead. Anybody else? No one else? Okay. Well, all right. The first order of business that I forgot to put on the agenda last time is the election of the PRC officers. The current slate is myself as chair, John Flower as vice chair, and Mary Ellen Garbarino as the recording secretary. Anybody want to make changes to that, or suggestions, or or just what does everybody want to do?
Sounds good to me.
So okay. So you just somebody want to make a motion to just reappoint the current slate of Dunn, Flower, and Garbarino to those positions?
I'll make a motion to reappoint those positions again.
Okay. Anybody second?
Missy, I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? No, not hearing any more discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye, Brendan. Okay. And Tim, did I hear you?
Yep.
That's the aye. Okay. Anyone opposed? No. Anyone abstain?
Yes.
Okay, John's going to abstain right now. Okay, but it looks like you've been drafted.
That's fine.
Okay, so the next one is to read and approve the minutes from our last meeting. Anyone have any comments, additions, subtractions to that, or what does everybody think? Is everybody ready to make a motion to approve them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, someone please make a motion to approve the minutes from our January meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the January meeting.
Oh, great. Anybody second?
I'll second it. Okay.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from our January meeting?
Aye.
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 Oh,
Aye.
okay, Tim, okay, aye. Anyone opposed? No? Abstain?
Me.
Okay,
Flower.
John Flower is going to abstain for now. Okay. All right, so we're on then to the director's report.
For the director's report, I'm going to just initially start out here by saying everything is status quo as previously reported, so we won't have to go through everything that's going on because everything is the same. The next order of business I'd like to talk about, though, is the upcoming spring season. Not looking for an answer tonight, probably, but we should think about this, and along with state and local government requirements, try to figure out spring field usage. The Tix Lacrosse is going to have a season. Limo Lime Little League is going to have a season. And Limo Lime Soccer Club, I haven't confirmed that they are yet, but I'm guessing that they will. They're waiting for the go-ahead. They haven't put their schedules together yet. They're waiting for the go-ahead to find out where they can play on fields. So we got another month to think about it. I think the commission should make a decision by the next meeting as to what we think they should be doing on these fields this coming spring. One of the things that they have to do is, and I know the soccer club had a problem with this last year, was insurance. Obviously, it's a requirement, regardless, to show us proof of insurance. But we'll be on top of that for sure because of the insurance problems that the soccer club had last year. So it's a requirement. They normally provide it to us. Last year was a little blip in the radar, but let's get a decision made by the March meeting if possible. Thank you.
Yeah, I think part of that decision is dependent on what the state is going and the CIAC are going to do for the spring outdoor season. So that I think by waiting until the March meeting, maybe we'll have you think by then the CIAC may be saying something?
Definitely.
Yeah. The Don, yeah.
Definitely.
And also the state probably. And so then we would just take our cue from them if there are any additional safety factors they'd have to tie into trying to have a season, such as would they have to wear masks or, you know, who knows. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a prudent way to do it. We wait until March to find out that there's more information, and hopefully we can have a decision by then. But I think in the meantime, prior to the March meeting, if you could get these various programs to present the insurance certificate to you, rather than just saying, you know, they think we may be able to get it, or but hopefully by then they'll have that worked out too, because that's imperative for them to be using.
I will make contact
Tampa.
with all the groups starting tomorrow with what our plan is, and all that stuff will be ironed out and be hopefully ready to go. And then obviously will just be depending on what happens on down the road, you know, with requirements. So that's all to be determined.
Yep.
At least we'll be ready.
Yep.
Does everybody agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, does anybody have anything to add to that, or? Huh? I don't hear anybody.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's a prudent way to go, and hopefully they'll be able to have some sort of season.
Yep, I want the kids to be able to play.
Yeah, I think we all do, but of course we want to follow guidelines and make sure it's fairly safe, or as safe as it can be, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay, going on from there, from the director's report, we have the old business, and Don, a quick update on the Haynes Park bathroom project.
Okay, the project is about 95% completed. There's just a couple of fixtures left to be put inside, some interior trim painting to do. Everything has been installed other than that. There's no water in the system yet. They've tested it with air and stuff to make sure there's no leaks. And the water will be installed in the tanks, obviously, when springtime hits, just prior to opening up the building. But it's in good shape. It's very nice. It's obviously a major upgrade from what we had, so it should work out fine. And there also we will be given an operation and maintenance manual for all the stuff that's in there, all the mechanical information. Companies, vendors, all that stuff that is related to any kind of that equipment in the building, we'll have all the information for it to go from there. But it's looking good, so if anybody hasn't driven by to see it, take a peek, and that's it.
Okay, yeah, that's, Don has shown me a little bit about what's inside and all, and it is a major improvement for what we had before. Anybody want to comment on that? Any discussion? No? Well, good job, Don, because Don is actually on that committee and our liaison to what's going on, and we, at least I appreciate, and I'm sure everyone else on the commission appreciates the time and effort he's put into it, and also to communicate with the commission on what's going on every step of the process. The way to do business, Don.
No problem.
But yeah, okay. All right. The next thing is the Townwoods Park Community Vegetable Garden. Jim Ward, you're here. We got
I'm here.
Yeah, we got some information that it went well with the inland wetlands. If you want to update us and fill us in and where you're at on this, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, well, I mean, I was waiting for that approval and then just to have this meeting here. My plans are, as long as tonight's positive, I was going to promote and hold a Zoom meeting, organizational meeting, get people involved the middle of March. I'm meeting with an attorney next week to start setting up a nonprofit. And then once I have the nonprofit, I have a few grants out there that I can apply for. So my goal was, before I did anything down there, was to have $10,000 in the bank under the nonprofit, and then start getting some fence estimates and equipment estimates, etc. So that's kind of where I'm at.
No, it sounds good. Is your goal to try and get seeds in the ground by this late spring or whenever the planting season is best?
No, not this year.
Okay.
I think this year, I think my goal this year would be to install a fence and run some soil tests and maybe do some prepping for next year. That would be my realistic goal.
Yeah, it sounds realistic and doable, especially if you're going for grant money. That's going to take several months to secure grant money. Now the people, I forget if you said it was Clinton or where this other one is. Where was this other one that you reference all the time? Clinton or Madison or?
It's in Clinton.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Food for all.
Yeah, and
I'd be more than willing to arrange a walk through there. They would gladly do it if anybody from the rec commission was interested.
Yeah, probably we would be.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah, and I think anybody on the commission would probably like to do that, and everybody should be invited to do it. And we may have to make that a meeting or something if a lot of us want to be there, but that would be doable. And I think it's really important too, is that not only that you have quote seed money to be able to do this, but also commitments for money in the future, such that of course this is going to have to be a volunteer effort on your group's part to provide the money to do all this. We could provide some technical advice, like John Flower was very much involved in the building of the Townwoods Park, as far as where electrical hookups may be, how to hook up water for irrigation, so that we'll be able to help on some of those aspects. But it is your intention to make this totally independent, finance-wise.
Correct.
From the town of Old Lyme.
Correct.
Okay, that's a good thing to hear, and
Yep.
and I think that and eventually you'll work out some sort of business plan, blueprint of exactly what you plan to do and when you plan to do it. And I think from the town standpoint that we'll have to probably ask our insurance agency what's going to be required for that. Now, I think if you had Old Lyme people and Lyme people, because that park is owned by Lyme and Old Lyme, that they would probably or might be covered by some sort of town insurance. Because, but if you had if you had people that weren't from Old Lyme, and I don't know this for a fact, this is something we have to ask attorneys and insurance people, but the Lyme and Old Lyme people may be okay. So if somebody nicks themselves out there doing something that the town will be protected and covered. We'd have to answer the question of whether or not you got people from out of town to do it, that what might need to be done there. But these are all things I think we can work out, especially since you're not planning to do this for this spring, and which would be awful tight time schedule. And it sounds like we have plenty of lead time to do this in a correct manner and in a positive manner. And of course, the whole idea of doing this is so important during these times, to be able to do things like this to help people that really need help. And as far as I'm concerned, I think this is a wonderful idea, as long as all the insurance and all the legality and all can be worked out eventually, and the fact that everyone has faith that you do have good financial resources and a good volunteer group to do this. I think that one of the things that I've thought about is that if you guys, say for instance, you move out of town or decide to move somewhere else, and would this be a lasting organization such that it could go on past, just like Park and Rec will go on past Don and I and John being involved, and will it be set up something like that so it can be ongoing? Because if all of a sudden, okay, the group falls apart, well, then somehow that land would have to be restored to the way it was prior to this whole project. But if you have an ongoing system of volunteers and resources, I think you can take care of that problem. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's my goal, and if I don't get a good core of volunteers to start the nonprofit and be involved in this, then I'm just going to have to say nice try or keep working at it. But so my goal is to have it a functioning thing. The one in Clinton's been going on, I think, 10, 12 years through different people. So it was started through the church, and then it's not the church anymore. So, but yeah, that would be my goal.
Oh, that's good, great, because I think that from the town standpoint, I think we're pretty happy about that. Would some of the commissioners like to say something besides just myself saying all
Yeah,
this?
Jim, John Flower.
Yeah.
What final location did we settle on?
Right behind the field house.
Okay, yeah.
On the side, by the baseball.
Down that strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna go out there and meet you guys, but it was pouring out that day, so I didn't go.
Oh, they postponed it when Don and I went the next week or
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah, but
I think
that's
I was in Maine then.
yeah. I think you were out of state. Yeah, but anyway, I think that looks good. Any other commissioners, please speak up and what their feelings are about this.
No, I think it's a wonderful idea myself, too.
Yeah.
I like the idea. All for it.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm excited.
Okay, Brendan, you said you were for this idea moving forward, right?
Yes, all for it. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else? I heard Glenn. Anyone else?
Yeah, it's Missy. I'm for it as well. I love the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, Missy.
Yeah, great idea. Also, Tim.
Oh, Tim, great idea.
Great
Good.
idea.
Yeah, good. And I think. Oh, Mary Ellen, you have a comment?
I do. I think it's a great idea.
Oh, okay.
So do I have any volunteers out there?
As I get older, I'm trying to disengage myself from all the volunteers I do. But when you get a better plan together and people hear about it, I'm sure. When it's in the birth stage like this, everybody might say okay, but they don't really know what's involved yet. But as you develop the plan, people will have a better understanding of that, and it might be a lot easier to get volunteers. especially if...
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I was just being funny.
Yeah.
What day, what's a good day to arrange a visit
I
to Clinton?
I would think, you know, once they get everything going, rather than now, like in the springtime sometime, maybe we could go visit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wouldn't want to go down there now. It'd be hard to see what they're really doing when there's snow and ice everywhere. And I think the other thing too is that, I don't know, did the inland wetlands tell you how big of a plot you could make out there, or give you information on where the lines would have to be to put this out there, or?
They just gave me permission to do it.
Okay, because I think then one of the things we'd have to do is decide what size of plot you want to start out with up there, and also then stake it out so that we can be absolutely sure that we're not infringing on wetlands. Because I know when we've set up Town Woods Park out there, were several meetings we had to have to make sure that we weren't doing this, and the University of Connecticut scientists there, they're the advisors on what was wetlands and what was not. So, but I think all this is very doable, and you heard it from every commissioner, including myself, totally supports this idea. So we would say go for it. Huh? Yeah.
So I think what I'll do is once I have the nonprofit established and I have the board of directors and I have a group of volunteers going there, then I'm going to approach you guys to have another meeting and just start doing coming up with the plan there.
Right. Because then once you get all that established, we'd have to have a formal request through the town and Park and Rec to do this out there.
Okay.
But of course you have to get all this startup information so that we can have a pretty coherent idea of what's going to take place in the future. Because we still have to explain exactly what's going to go on to inland wetlands, I'm sure, based on the prior experiences we had with Town Woods Park. Yeah. All right. So you heard it. We're all for it at this point, but it's not. It will become formalized once we get more of this information, and you get more information as far as your what the plan is, your size of your organization, the nonprofit business, all that, because I think people in the town like to support nonprofits that are doing good things for the community.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yep. Okay, Jim,
Sounds good.
Is that good?
That's
Okay.
exactly what I was looking for tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we really appreciate that you're going to make this effort. I mean, as speaking from experience, the three of us here and other people, we've done this in the community, and it's quite a task to be able to do something like this, and we greatly appreciate your enthusiasm of trying to get this together.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. All right, Jim. Thank you. Okay, well, we go to the next one, the status of the agreement/path for 176 Boston Post Road to the town docks and Old Line. Okay, to help save some time and effort in responding to the LLC version of agreement, which was sent to us by Mr. Hack and his associates, and I don't have the correct date here. I don't see it, but we had gotten it in the last 3 weeks or so. We can look up what the date was for that. But in order to respond to that, Greg had their version, sent us their version and the town's version side by side. And just to make it a little bit easier for everyone to appreciate the similarities and differences, on 127 I sent to Brendan and CC'd the members of the Park and Rec Commission in a revision mode, the redlining mode, what the differences were in the two proposals. And then I also, in the margin, sent some of my initial thoughts, were my initial thoughts. I want everyone to be able to comment as we go over it. But my overall sense is that the LLC revisions appear to eliminate several key aspects of what the basis of the compromise was that was agreed to at the PRC meeting June 20th, 2020. And I sent everybody with that a little brief that what was in the minutes of the June meeting. And just briefly, I'll go over it. Brendan McKeever moved to have PRC authorize Brendan McKeever, to engage with Attorney McNamara, attorney for the Blood Street Partners LLC, to draft an agreement with the owners of the LLC and the PRC for limited use of town property, sunrise to 9 a.m., so owners of Boston Post Road can access Rogers Lake under certain terms agreeable to both parties. This is for 8 boats or less with usage by owners only. This would be temporary in nature and not be recorded. Also in the minutes was the discussion that followed up on this, besides just that part of the motion, is that it was understood that updated liability insurance policy must be provided by the LLC to the Park and Rec Commission that would cover portaging of shells on Haynes Park property. Usage hours are sunrise to 9 a.m., 8 boats or less, with owners only being allowed to portage boats to the lake. The neighbors were to be informed, and any appropriate neighbor feedback would come to the PRC, and that the LLC was to contact the adjacent neighbor about using the 10-foot strip of property owned by the said neighbor. The end result would be a written agreement with the understanding that this agreement is temporary and can be rescinded by the Park and Rec Commission for non-compliance. Tim Gavin seconded the motion, so voted, and all were in favor. So just to go back to what the key elements of this were covered in that June 2020 meeting. Okay, since then, Brendan and McNamara put together an outline for an agreement. I added to that based on the fact that during the boathouse meetings with the school, First Selectman Bonnie Reemsnyder and I represented the town with the lawyers and with the people from District 18, and we came up at that time with an agreement. And so what I did is I tried to add what key parts of that agreement would probably pertain to this type of agreement, and that I tried to just make it as close as possible, but it was, and to be consistent with what we expect from District 18 or any group that wants to use town property. So that was forwarded to Sussman and Shapiro, attorneys at law, and Mike, is it Carey? Mike Carey, Brendan, was the attorney that handled this, and he basically took some of what we put together, changed it around, and then came to the agreement that we had, and we actually submitted at our September meeting. Yeah, it was the September Park and Rec Commission meeting. Then we sent it to Greg Hack and his LLC associates to read and hopefully approve. Well, 4 months went along, and we got nowhere with any type of agreement until recently, in the last month, Greg Hack decided and his associates that they were willing to sign an agreement. Now, so this is where we're at now, and unfortunately, they tended to eliminate a lot of the key points of the original agreement, or change them in ways that are questionable, at least at least to myself, and I had a talk with Brendan today, a quick talk. Brendan's been very busy, and he called me, he gave me an email saying I could call today. I finally called him. We spoke a little bit about it, and we spoke about some of the things that we were concerned about, and I'll let Brendan speak about that. And Brendan, you just want you want to just say generally before we go over the points what some of your main concerns were, please?
Yeah, sure. So just by way of a little bit of background, so I talked to Bob today. I talked to Don as well. I had a chance to speak with Attorney McNamara, and I had a very good conversation with Sussman Shapiro, with the attorneys who drafted this. So in those conversations, pretty much, I think just as far as the major issues go, I think there's 3 of them. Now there's some sub-issues there too that can probably be worked on. But I think the 3 major issues that I think can't really be budged off of, or if there's a way to amend the amendment that the LLC gave us. I guess I'll just start kind of in reverse order. So if you go to the end of the document on it's subsection 12, which is page 3.
Yes.
So in there, a critical component of what it was that we had talked about was the town's ability to have, or just that the ability, or to having the agreement be freely revocable by the town. And so an issue that I didn't think of, but was brought to my attention today, and it makes a lot of sense, is the reason why this is so important and why the town has to have the ability to revoke this at any point in time is if it does not, and it's not a revocable document, it in essence creates an interest in the land at Haynes Park for the LLC. And in doing that, it automatically triggers a town meeting in order for this agreement to be approved, which then triggers zoning, planning, etc. And the feedback that I received today was, if that is the case, this agreement is essentially dead on arrival. The town will never go for giving up an interest in land to an adjacent landowner, especially for something like this. And I explained that to Attorney McNamara as well, and we talked about it a little bit, and it seemed to make sense to him. And so I think that just from the standpoint of paragraph 12, which is, if you look at it, it's heavily redacted. I'm not saying that the original text of what was submitted by Sussman Shapiro has to be kept. I'm sure that can be tweaked, and I wouldn't have any problem with that, and I doubt that Sussman Shapiro would either. But the main crux of the revocability has to stay in there, or else we don't have the authority to execute this agreement. It goes beyond us. And from that standpoint, it just triggers a lot of process on both sides, which I don't think is beneficial to either party, certainly to the LLC. So I think that's, as far as an issue, a major crux of what it is that we're trying to figure out here is the commission has to retain its ability to revoke this at any point in time, because otherwise it's a conveyance of an interest of the land, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yes. I think that makes perfect sense. Plus, I had questioned, I wasn't really sure what material breach meant, and Brendan read me from the Black Book, or whatever you call it, what the definition was, but my impression from what he said was it just opens the town up to future lawsuits left and right by using that particular language. Is that correct, Brendan, or mostly correct?
Well, I think just for a little bit of clarity too, and this was the analogy I gave you today, Bob, was that, so a breach in a contract means somebody went against the terms of the deal. So they broke the contract somehow. So within that, there's what's called a material breach. And the way to look at it, just I suppose in layman's terms, would be, it's if somebody tells a white lie versus a major lie. A white lie is something where, what was the analogy I used today, Bob, about mowing the lawn every Wednesday?
Yeah. The contractor's supposed to do it Wednesday, but one week he comes Tuesday, and so that's no big deal,
so
because maybe rain was coming on Wednesday, but if he doesn't come for about a month and wants to be paid, no way.
then that would be considered a material breach. And so I think what the LLC is doing, which I understand, it makes sense. I get their position. What I think they're trying to do is, what they don't want to have happen is, one of their members does something which is against the terms of this agreement. Maybe inadvertent on purpose, but it's not something that's a major infraction. And what they don't want to have happen, and I'm speaking, I haven't talked to them about it, I'm assuming here. And what they don't want to have happen is, based on that, the commission automatically revokes the agreement. And I understand that position. The problem is, though, is in trying to do that and removing the revocability language, it just becomes untenable. I mean, we can't enter into this agreement.
Yeah.
So in that essence, it's a non-starter. Now, having said that, paragraph 12 can certainly be reworked. I don't necessarily see an issue with that, but the key terms of the paragraph, I think, have to stay in. And Sutton Shapiro, basically, that was their directive to me. That's not me speaking necessarily.
Yes. Well, yeah, I happen to agree with you that eliminating a lot of the language that our attorney put in there, and this other thing about material breach and all these days, and it could go on for 90 days, 45 days. Basically, it could go on forever, it looks like.
Well, yeah, so they want a cure, meaning that, whatever the infraction is, if there's a way to make it better, that's like fix it. That's kind of the idea behind it, which again, I understand that. That's a common thing in real estate contracts, or something with, if there's a problem with a title. I get that. I just don't know if it can work in this type of agreement. And so that's a segue into part 2, which is equally important, which is the insurance issue. So if you look at paragraph 2,
okay.
Again, heavily redacted. It's on page 1.
Oh yeah, there's nothing there.
Again, heavily redacted, but this revolves...
Number 1, you mean, number 1 on page 1.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's number 1.
Okay.
It's the second paragraph. It's labeled number 1.
Yeah, this is something that any type of athletic group or any group wants to use parkland for town property. This is not negotiable. This is what people have to do. Correct, Don?
That's correct.
Yep. And they have to actually show the certificate, not just say they have it, and they have to show it. And if for some reason they lapse in their coverage, the town is not liable at all. They still are, which is the last sentence of that, I believe.
Yeah, so when, just in my conversations today, not to state the obvious, but the town would have to be included as an additional insured in the event that somebody does something wrong and there's a lawsuit, the insurance will defend the town. I mean, that's the essence of it. And the last sentence there where it's redacted out regarding a lapse in insurance, I mean, just in speaking to Sutton Shapiro too, I mean, that can be taken out, but it would have to be substituted with something which would protect the town in the event that the insurance lapses. In other words, the members or the LLC or their permittee would hold the town, would indemnify and hold the town harmless from any and all liability regarding a lapse in insurance. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing there, but
right. Something
like that would have to be in there. And in essence, the proof of insurance too can be something as simple as a binder. You don't need to see the entire insurance policy, I don't think. Just something that shows that the town, the amount, and that the town is an additional insured. I mean, I would defer to Don on that as to what would be needed.
That's
Certainly
what
there would need to be some type of proof.
That's what we give, Brendan. We get a one-page document that has all that information.
Yeah, very similar to like if a bank is lending on a property for a mortgage, which is more in my wheelhouse, but a borrower has to show a binder, a certificate of insurance listing the bank as what's called a mortgagee clause. Like if the house burns down, the bank can get paid back. It's very similar here, I would assume, Don.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last part, as far as a major issue, and I suppose that just on my end in reading this, I think that both sides just need some clarity. So the very first paragraph, which says the town of Old Lyme, Connecticut, acting by its first selectman, and it goes on. So it's hard to figure out, for me anyway, who this agreement is we're entering it with. Is it the LLC, is it the LLC and the members who are then the permittees? Which it may be. It very well may be. But they're used interchangeably here, although sometimes not interchangeably. It just lists the permittees or the LLC. I think that there needs to be some clarification on that. And the byproduct of that, which I think is the town's kind of issue here, is who has the ability to use this pathway? In other words, the members of the LLC, who are they? And is this agreement limited to the members who signed this document? Because I think what the town's concern would be, ultimately, is if the LLC grows in membership, which can certainly happen, and if that's the case, then how many people or how many votes, and what's the ultimate traffic going to be here? I think there certainly needs to be some clarity, and I think that the LLC's position is they're trying to not limit the members by name. So I'm not entirely sure why that is, other than maybe they just don't want to have some type of limitation. Now, this issue, I think it can certainly be worked out as far as who signs the document. I think it's solvable, but I think that, maybe it's a conversation with Attorney McNamara just to find out what it is that, what's the issue here on their end. Like, you look at the first paragraph and it's pretty redacted too regarding all of the names.
The whole document doesn't contain the names of the 6 permittees, which basically was a part of our agreement that we had back in June, that it would be limited to the 6 people that were LLC permittees. And the usage is just with the owners only being allowed portage boats. And certainly the way that seems that they've redacted all this is I believe what you said. They don't want it limited to just the 6 people. They don't want it limited for their usage, that other people could use it. And that was never part of the basis for even starting this agreement. And so that's just, in my opinion, it's just totally unacceptable. These people, if say one of the permittees leaves, couldn't we put it into the document that then certainly the replacement for that person would then have to read the agreement and sign it just like the original 6 permittees? Would that be doable?
Possibly. I mean, I think so. I think anything's doable.
Yeah.
And Bob, it could be something too. This is why I don't want to, put my judgment in there. It could be a matter of liability where they're just looking at this where they don't want to, somehow become personally liable on some issue. There's a lot of things that could be going on here. I'm not sure. But I think, like I said, I think it's a solvable thing. When I talked to Sussman Shapiro about it today too, they weren't necessarily as laser focused on that issue. And like I told you today too, Bob, so for example, like if you're selling a house through an LLC and there's 5 members, you only need 1 member to sign the deed. They can certainly execute and bind the LLC. I think for us, it's a matter of usage. So who it is that's actually going to be using it under the umbrella of this LLC.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
If you look at the minutes of the June PRC, 2020 PRC meeting, it specifically says that the usage hours are sunrise and 9 a.m., 8 boats or less, with owners only being allowed to portage boats to the lake. So it's just for the 6 members or permittees, or whatever the correct language is, of the LLC. It's not for them to say, Joe Rowe, you can come over and take one of my boats and use it, or it's not set up so that people that aren't part of the LLC can be storing boats there. So it's just, it's one of these basic elements of this proposed agreement that was agreed upon by not only the Park and Rec, but Greg Hack and whoever else was involved. They said, okay, let's go with that. And so now to be just eliminating a lot of that business, it's just, to me, this is it's not the agreement that we agreed on, and it's awful hard to, I think, to protect the town. It's awful hard to change any of that. And it's, and like I said to you before, for some reason, when the first thing was sent to Mike and Shapiro, Sussman and Shapiro, for some reason he thought it was very important that all members of the LLC sign the document at the end, so that everyone could read this and you just wouldn't rely on one or two people to accurately state what's in here. That was their addition. I thought maybe if it's just Greg Hack is the leader of this, could, you know, the original one for signing said that, but somehow in the document, I think the current members have to be listed, and that if for some reason one of the members leaves, then work out some sort of agreement that you could get another member, but they got to read this agreement, our original agreement, not the one that was supported by the LLC, and then see if they want to sign up or not. What do you think, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and I understand, and it makes sense to me. And again, I just don't. It could be something innocuous and innocent as to why it is that they want those names off of there, and then maybe there's a way to add another paragraph saying who, you know, the current members of the LLC under the Secretary of State Concord website as of blankety blank date. I don't know. Maybe, you know, maybe they want their names just out there, but it's referenced as to who they are, so we all know. Maybe there's a way to do that. I think, yeah.
Brendan, I got a question for you. So this is Tim. I still don't think we are deemed as a Park and Rec to determine what they store there for boats. I think that's not our business. But so if I go to number 6, the use of the path to access the Haynes Parks and its facilities by the LLC is limited to the boats that are stored there. What if they have boats stored there that don't belong to them? Isn't that saying that those people can transport on the path their boats? I mean, I think that's somehow number 6 needs to be reworded.
Yeah, well, I think with that, the commitment was, as I just read again from the June 20th meetings, is that the agreement was for use by the 6 LLC owners only. I don't think there's any debate about how do you interpret that.
Well, I just said the boats that are stored there. Also, so it's a contradiction. If someone else's boat is stored there, then it's saying that number 6 is saying that they can use the path.
Well, and I think, Tim, what that also says, too, is that if the boats are stored there, it can be, you know, Brendan McKeever can go over there.
Right.
As long as it's the boat that I'm taking, then it can be used.
Right. Which according to the original agreement, was not part of the original agreement. It was for the 6 owners.
Well, I don't think that.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's our say to say what they store on their grounds. Yeah, on their property. It's just like you telling me I can't park 6 cars in my driveway.
Yeah,
you know,
but Tim, I want you to realize that even what was been said at previous meetings, they cannot go along with this agreement.
I brought it up.
Yeah.
I brought it up that I didn't agree with that. We are the ones that determine how many boats are stored there.
Right, they just
and
can't
I still don't agree with that.
Yeah, they can put whatever they want, but they just can't use our path.
Right.
Only the people that are owners of the property and should be named, and they, you know, on the agreement.
Right. And I think what I mentioned before to Greg Hack was that, okay, you don't have to go along with this agreement, and you can do, you know, have whoever's boat's stored there, but you're going to have to come in through the normal public access of the driveway to the parking lot or the boathouse. But if you want to use this path, as John said, this was the agreement that was, I thought, a verbal agreement at least in the motion that we had at the June 2020 meeting. So
Right.
So if they choose not to go along with this agreement and not use that path, well, they can come in through the public access, right? Yeah, and they could, then they can not agree to these terms. But if they want to use that path, these were the terms. Does that help you, Tim?
Right. I just want.
Tim?
It does. I just wonder. I wonder how. I was asking Brendan because he's an attorney. What number 6 reads? To me, it reads that the boats that are stored there, people can use the path with whoever boat is stored there. That's what that line reads to me.
It's almost like it's giving the access to the boat, not to the person. So if the boat's
yes,
there,
exactly,
then
and it should be. Yes, it should be the person, not the boat. Who cares what boat they're using?
Okay.
One thing, just to piggyback off of what Tim said too, which is number 7, right below it. I agree with what Tim says. I think I don't know if we would have jurisdiction over that. The paragraph below, which was they struck out, but it deals with the amount of shells, etc. Does the commission have jurisdiction over what it is that they have there? I don't know.
I made the comment that if it could be demonstrated that the 6 members actually own, say, 10 boats, we could talk about maybe increasing it to 10 boats. But if they want to use that, if they want to use the path agreement, it has to be for the members only, and they have to prove that these are their boats, okay, and not somebody else's boat, and they can't just give permission to whoever they want to sublet or give permission to say, okay, Joe, you can go over and use one of my boats and bring it over. It's just not what we agreed to. Anybody?
To me, you were just saying 2 different things there, though, Bob. I thought the first thing you said was correct. It's the use of the path is by what Brendan just said, the people that live and own the house.
Yes.
Period. It should be limited to it shouldn't be the boats. They can bring whatever boat they want as long as it's 1 or 2 person shells. Is what we talked about.
Right. But no, I think the agreement was that it was for boats that they owned, not that someone else would own.
I don't think that. I could see them saying, well, having an issue with that, and I don't think that's our jurisdiction.
And I don't think we'd ever know what boats are theirs or not.
Yeah, I just don't. I think it should be reworded. If we're redoing the contract, we're not going to, use that contract that we did way back.
No,
we're going to be doing a pretty new one.
Yeah, the boats are kind of irrelevant.
Just people.
Just the people.
Yeah, who cares?
And if you recall, Tim, in the December 2019 meeting when Greg Hack first came to the commission.
I don't recall.
When he first came with this plan to build a real big facility about the size of the house or bigger, he wanted to store 24 boats there and basically store not just their boats, but their friends' boats, and I don't know if they were going to rent the spaces out or what, but with the big veranda, as I said to them, it looked like you want to have a little Skull Yacht Club of sorts there, and we certainly weren't in agreement with that, and we unanimously.
I don't think that's our business. I don't think that's our jurisdiction, though.
But it is if they want to have special access to the park, okay?
We're not talking that. We're talking the people that are in the LLC have the access to the park.
Right.
I don't think we have jurisdiction on what size shed they build or how many boats are in there. Well, that's why I bring it up.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This is something to maybe talk to Sussman and Shapiro about, but I
think it's more of a zoning thing.
Yes, and this is why on the first paragraph, I wanted to add some language it's in the last sentence, the permittees and legally stored this is for 1 and 2 person shells, at the private residence located at 176 Boston Post Road. Because this ensures that it really is a residence and not some sort of club or something else, because this is the way that they approached the land use committee, saying it was going to be a private residence on what the plan that was currently approved, and also to the PRC that this property will remain a private residence. So I think yes, if they wanted to store other things there that they didn't own, that's fine, but they can't come in through the limited access pathway, the people that aren't LLC members. Does that make sense, Tim?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Just the permitted. Who cares about the boats?
Right.
It's just the people that are signing the document.
Yeah, and in fact, in another part of that, we say that the 6 of them could use it, take a boat every day if they wanted. And if you recall, when there was the 24 boat business back in December 2019, Greg Hack said to our committee that, even though there's going to be 24 boats there, and maybe 2 or 3 people at most would use it at any given time. And that certainly is, doesn't seem to be what they really meant. But I don't know. It's hard to interpret some of the things in what they really meant versus facts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, moving on. Moving on.
Oh, okay, all right. So Brendan, I want to go through some of the points we haven't gone through very quickly. Is that okay with you, and just see what anybody says?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I think the first part is somewhere the current people that are part of the LLC has to be noted somewhere in this document, and they don't want to note it in the document itself. I thought the attorney's suggestion to put the names on the end for each person to sign was a good one, and so, but I want to stress that they approached the land use committees and us saying it was going to be a private residence, okay? And anything other than a private residence is not what they told the town they were going to do. So I'd like to add private residence to that. And if I think the name should be in there, and but we can also say, Brendan, you came up with there may be a better way to do this rather than permittees versus LLC. Maybe some language could be put in there for that, and but certainly somewhere in this document, the current LLC permittees should be listed. Anybody have any comment on that?
Well, I think they should be, because they're the only ones that can use the path.
Yeah, because it's all for permission to use the path, okay? And so basically most of what was said there has to, we have to go back more to the original agreement that the town put together, meaning Park and Rec Commission. Tim Griswold actually requested some of the things that are in here, and he's the first selectman. And then, of course, we then got the agreement that we presented from Sussman and Shapiro, which basically, to me, a lot of what the LLC has deleted should be put back into this document, okay? But anyway, the next thing is that was all about the insurance. I think Brendan adequately spoke about that, because this is just common what the town requires for any organization that uses town property. So to eliminate this is just unacceptable in my book. Anybody want to comment about why they shouldn't have to get the insurance that all other organizations have to get to use town property? I mean, it's...
No, I think they should get it.
Of course, you know, and basically, unless you do that, you're not allowed to use town property. Even an organization that doesn't use it on a regular basis can have a special function that takes place, but they still have to show this insurance.
Yeah, we do
Still.
for garden club. You always have to, for plant sales and things like that, we have to get a special insurance just for the day,
Yeah.
or how
So-
many days it is.
Yeah, exactly. So this basically is unacceptable, in number one. The next one is number two, and basically it talks about the permittees, and as Brendan said, we could probably work that out, permittees versus LLC, or the LLC, when it's referred to here, means the current permittees, okay? So that's not a big deal, but that material breach, the third line from the bottom there is in there, and I don't think, from what I heard from Brendan today and what he read, there's any way that we want this material breach anywhere in this document. As Brendan says, then we lose total control practically over town land. It could go on for years in litigation in a court. So I'm not going to repeat what Brendan said on 12, because I totally agreed with him, and that it has to be revocable by the town at will, unless we lose control. And I don't think there's any way around that. Brendan, what do you think? I mean, it has to be in there, right? That last part.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the way around it would be is if the commission says no and they disagree, and then they take their chances with zoning, planning, you name it, the rest of the town, then I suppose then they could take it that route. But otherwise, it's got to be in there, because we can't, according to council, we can't agree to this if it's not in there.
Right,
We don't have the
exactly.
authority.
Exactly. So basically 12 should go back to what it was, and because this whole thing that they penciled out a lot of what we wanted, and well, I think all that has to be returned, as well as the last part, as you said, is totally, I mean, we have to protect the town, and we're not going to do something that doesn't protect the town. And so at least I don't think the commission want to step in and argue something that wouldn't protect the town. Anybody else comment? No?
Well, we make everyone else do it. So
Yeah, we make everybody else do it, and you know, basically that has to all return. Number 3 on the next page, this is not in alignment with the initial basis of the potential compromise agreement, that the limited use of the park by the 6 named LLC members only. Allowing any others to use the premises adds risk to the town and may also conflict with the assigned use of the property as a private residence per land use variances and permits. If needed, it may be possible to add a clause that would allow the exchange of one of the 6 named permittees with that of another if the replacement LLC commits in writing to the disagreement. And I think that maybe we should add in there, Brendan, at some point, so that these guys just aren't locked into this forever. And if they want to leave the LLC and they want to get somebody else to replace them to keep the 6 members, that they would just have to read this agreement and also agree to it. What do you think, Brendan?
Well, I mean, it just goes to the point of that this agreement, you know, the town, by executing something like this, is unique. So by virtue of doing it, this agreement has to be specific to the parties that are involved originally.
Right.
And if other parties are going to come into play post-agreement, then there has to be some type of amendment or addendum that all the remaining parties have to agree to. I don't think that that's out of bounds on some level.
Yeah, no, I think what we were afraid of was the ability for these guys to sublet to other people to be able to use this path. And if they want to store boats there, okay, fine, but they're not allowed to use the path according to this agreement.
Right, don't we have to be, you have to be a member, or you have to be an owner in the town of Old Lyme to use Haynes Park. So I would assume that you just couldn't assign someone else as a part of the LLC and they live in Madison or something, if they aren't an owner. Do you see what I mean? If they just exchange a name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, number 4 wasn't included at all, it was eliminated, and then I see why I didn't comment the first time, but if you maintain the language in the first paragraph of this agreement, it is redundant, because it's in that first paragraph, it does say it limits to the portage of privately owned 1- and 2-person rowing shells legally stored at 176 Boston Post Road, but that's in the first paragraph. If you go back to the paragraph that the town's agreement wants to have, okay? So that's why that one was okay. At least anybody else on this basis that it's in paragraph 1, you can't eliminate it from here. Anybody else? I mean, but this was part of the agreement that was agreed upon back in June of 2020. Okay? All right, going to number 5. This once again ignores the agreement that was made in June of 2020, which, well, actually we even added to that a little bit. Rather than sunrise to 9 a.m., it could be as early as 5:30 a.m., whichever is later, okay? And in case there was a sunrise before 5:30 a.m., I think what we put in there was to say that, okay, I don't know what there are sunrises before 5:30 a.m. I guess there are in the spring maybe. But just to make sure that people just weren't congregating there, because one of the things we heard from people that live by the lake is that I know that they make an effort to be quiet at that early hour, but the sound really travels over the lake, and in fact would travel to the residents that live in that particular area if people started showing up much before sunrise. So, and as far as the night business is concerned, if they want to do something that's a community rowing program at night, then they could take the boats and come in through the boathouse driveway, I guess. But anyway, that was never part of the original agreement. That this, I don't know, 10 a.m. I guess at one point they requested 9:30 a.m. and we said no. Now it's up to 10 o'clock. Anybody have a comment about that? That wasn't part of the agreement. And the thing about snow and ice, this is what we also have with the school. So say in March you can get a snowstorm, but just as with the District 18 agreement is that if there is accumulation of snow and ice, no one uses this facility because of more liability issues. So I think that should be reinstated. Anybody else on that? That's exactly what's in the agreement with the school.
I'm sorry, but you may have mentioned, what time does the park close? At sunset?
It's supposed to be sunset. Yeah, sunrise to sunset.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's done. That's just about, that's Town Woods Park too, right?
That's standard across.
Yeah, it's standard, yeah. So we're not going to change the standard for, I don't know, for going after sunset or something here. But anyway, the next one, number 6, this once again is the agreement was for the use of just 6 LLC owners only, and they wanted to take that out, which I don't believe they should. And that, and then it goes on that this shouldn't really be an issue because they originally said that maybe only 2 or 3 people would ever use this in one morning to go rowing, and we have it in here that all 6 of them could use it, and all 6 boats, so I don't know why that was removed. Anybody else comment?
Which one, are you talking 6?
No, I think that,
Yeah, 6.
I think number 6 should definitely be in there because it lists listed members.
Yes, yeah, I know, yeah, and,
You know,
and it's more boats that Greg initially said was gonna be used when it was proposed for a 24 shell storage facility, which, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And we're saying, well, you can have six people use it if you want, but only the owners of the, or the.
yeah, just the owners.
Yes.
The owners.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that should be put back in, okay, and number 7, this goes back to the thing too, it's only the boats that are owned by LLC members would be stored there. Some owners may own more than one boat. As a compromise, maybe the number from 8 can be increased to 10 if they show 10 boats, if they show that these 6 owners actually own 10 boats, in order to use the path of this agreement. And so, and
Yeah, I think number 7 doesn't need to be in there. I don't think, like I said before, it's not up to us to decide how many boats to have.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, Jim. Number 7, you know, if they want to have 40 boats owned by 40 different people at their property, we don't care, but we only want the owners
Other
of the
people.
property to use the path.
right.
Correct.
Right, so that, that has to be reworded or whatever, but.
That doesn't need to be in there.
It could be removed.
Or it could be
Yeah.
removed, I guess, because that's stated kind of in the very first paragraph too.
Right.
Yeah, so,
See, if you go back to number 6 and you read what they left there, it basically just says that we can use, anyone, you can
Anybody.
use the path.
Anyone.
That house can use the path,
Yeah.
that's all it says.
yeah, so which
Correct.
6 is not acceptable.
Right.
Okay, so I guess, 7, so if they want to have more than 8 boats there, well, I guess they should negotiate with us about what they plan to do, because this is not what they agreed at in June of 2020. So that's a change from the initial agreement that they at least made at that Park and Rec meeting. So, to me, I don't like it when people say they're going to do things and then they don't follow through. It makes it difficult to deal with that situation.
Bob, can I make a comment
Yeah.
about the number of boats?
Yeah,
This is Don. Just a comment about the number of boats. I agree with Tim that we have no jurisdiction to tell somebody how many boats they can keep on their property. But the problem is, if there is no such agreement, and they store 20 boats, just as an example, I don't know if that's even feasible, then that opens up the possibility of 20 people using boats. And how do we monitor these 6 people or who else is doing this? Just relying on their own honesty? I mean, it's going to be hard. You can put all the regulations in place that you want, but there has to be some kind of enforcement. And how is the enforcement going to work? And that's obviously going to come under my situation.
yeah, it complicates your situation.
Well, yeah, it does. It does. I get that, but also, like, if you allow somebody to store 20 boats there, you're kind of inviting 20 people to use them at some time.
Yeah, no question.
Yes.
I agree.
Versus just the owners. Again, Tim, I don't think we have the right to say how many boats are there, but this is a problem with not
Right.
having that right. I think,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a whole nother can of worms to open up, that you open up with the town, like.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It is. If you say, again, I don't think we should have the ability to say it, but say if you said you have 6
Yeah.
boats,
I hear ya.
that's pretty
I
much
agree.
leaving it to the owners, with maybe an occasional
I agree
guest
with
coming
that.
in. But if you put 20 boats there, you're, I don't know.
well, we
I
already.
agree. I agree
Yeah, the
with-
Park and
I agree
Rec
with
Commission
what you're
already unanimously voted against having 24 boats there for anybody that would be there, other than the 6 on. That's how we got to the
I get that.
potential agreement in June of 2020.
I get that.
Yeah,
But just to Tim's point,
We all
which
know that.
I agree with, I don't know how we can tell anybody how many boats they can store on their property. And it just goes farther from my perspective as the person who's going to deal with the situation.
Right.
It's difficult. I don't know how to do it, actually. I mean, I can identify somebody who goes to Haynes Park or White Sand Beach with a beach sticker on their car. I don't know who the people are in some cases. And if somebody's walking boats over from 176 to Haynes Park, I don't even know half those people.
Right. I agree.
How do I know who they are?
Right. Yeah, it's an issue.
Yep, that's why it has to be limited to the 6 permittees, to use the path at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know those 6.
How do I monitor that?
What's that?
How do I monitor
Yeah.
that? I gotta be on there at 5:30 to
No,
for
well, you can,
I take turns, Bob? You want to go?
no, I think, well, it could be just spot checking like you did after we had that June meeting, I believe that was on a Thursday night.
Right.
And,
At some point.
yeah, and right on Saturday morning, we saw, we saw somebody that didn't seem to follow that agreement.
My point is, I can spot check, yes, and when I have staff there, they're there after so-called their use, and we spot check earlier, and it's easy when you have stickers. This is, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, because I don't know the people.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, some of them I do, but.
or else we could could you have like a special sticker to put on
A pass.
like a registration, like for
I don't know.
like the state has for boats or something, to make sure they're registered, and then you have a record of who registered? Huh?
I don't see how that's.
No, that'd be too. No.
Okay, I just threw that idea out. Okay,
We would kind of be relying on the honesty.
yeah,
That's exactly what it is. It's the same way with stickers.
Right.
If my staff starts at
I
9
agree.
a.m. or 10, whatever it is, that's when it starts. What goes on before that is kind of a free-for-all.
Right. We have no
And I'm
idea.
down there earlier at the sites like Haynes Park or White Sand Beach, seeing what's going on there, but we're not there all the time, and we're not going to have staff there at sunrise to
Right.
monitor things. So there's a lot of honesty involved with it.
yep,
You know,
yep,
you could come and go. You could drive into Haynes Park without a sticker and row for an hour and get out of there before we even show up.
Correct. Right.
but you're relying on people being honest
Yes.
and hopefully following some of the rules that were set
So I
up.
think that's the reason why we have to make our rules fairly succinct. So we have a basis, we have some rules, and it's up to their honesty to follow the rules. And we can't expect someone to be monitoring them all the time.
No, yeah, I agree with that, and, yeah, I don't know.
No,
Based on what we agreed on back in June 2020, already we've seen this proposed
Right.
LRC document that they're not holding to a lot of the basic tenets of this
I
agreement.
agree. I
So honesty really comes into the question.
Correct, I agree.
Yeah.
That's why I think we either, get a very succinct proposal or just end it, because we've been spending a lot of time on this.
And to be clear, from my perspective, I'm not saying anybody is being dishonest.
No,
I'm just
I'm
saying
not.
honesty is.
Right.
I'm not implying that.
Right.
No, I know you're not, but I'm just putting out for my own well-being,
Right.
that somebody doesn't interpret what I said the wrong way.
Right.
And I think that's another reason why things have to be explicit in writing,
Right.
that rather than just somebody's word or something to what goes on. And that's why this path agreement is very important.
I agree, it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's,
And by the way, we didn't have to do any of this.
Correct.
We didn't have to do anything. They could do whatever they wanted there and come in the way the rest of the public comes into the park.
correct, we're trying
But we're trying to,
to be amenable.
be amenable, be good community neighbors with them, kind of. All right, go on to number 8. This is real easy, this one. In this particular agreement, this agreement does not give any LLC member the right to use the boathouse in this particular agreement. If they have an agreement with the rowing association and the school that allows them to use the boathouse, that's part of that agreement.
Right.
But this particular agreement does not have anything to do with access to the boathouse. Would anybody like to comment on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I don't know why they eliminated, if there are any conflicts. Of course, any conflicts for any of the park usage or public land usage for, especially the parks and recreation programs, well, that's to be addressed by Don Bugliaro, Line Parks and Rec Director, and the Park and Rec Commission if an equitable solution can't be worked out by Don, which most of the time Don can just take care of this, right, Don?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know why that was removed. I think it has to be put back in. I mean, that's the way that any activities at any of our parks takes place, right, Don? I mean, that's
Right. I think they could have just misinterpreted what it meant by saying that it doesn't give them access to the boathouse.
yeah. No, this agreement does.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying maybe somebody just thought that says, what do you mean we can't use the boathouse?
No, because if they have an agreement with the Old Line Rowing Association, that's fine.
I understand that.
Yeah, but that's why this was put in. So I think basically this has to be a part of the agreement, okay? We're almost done. Number 9. This is for the permission from the owners of the adjacent property. Well, that was part of our original agreement, and that to transport the boats on the neighbor's property, they can say that the neighbor said it, but there should be documentation so that if there's any problem with that, they have documentation that shows they can use that property from the LLC that owns that property. Now, I don't know if they got permission. I believe that's a rental property. Maybe they spoke to somebody at the rental property and they said, yeah, sure, go ahead and do this. But they're not the owners of the property. They're renters there, right, Don? I believe?
I believe there are, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know why this was all deleted.
Right. And in reverse, we wouldn't want the owner of that property to think that when we make this agreement that Park and Rec is telling the LLC that they're allowed to use someone else's property.
Right. So this is a non-starter. I mean, they have to, just like documentation of insurance, they have to show something that.
Plus, when we had our original conversation, they're the ones who brought up that property. I didn't even know the 10-foot strip existed.
Right, and
they brought it up.
Yeah.
And said that they could use it. So.
Okay. Yeah, but once again, it's better to have things in writing.
Don.
Yes.
Don. Do they need that 10-foot strip to access the path?
No, I don't think they do. If they just came onto town property right away.
Right.
But
so I guess that I've always had I've always been confused about this. And why do we care if they have permission from their neighbor? Why would that be wouldn't that be between them and their neighbor? Why is that? Why would we care?
I think maybe only Brendan. The 10-foot section came up as a way to maybe shorten the distance walking across town property.
Correct.
And I think, like John's point was, it should be clear and all the permissions granted so that the owner of that property, the rental property, doesn't think that the town is giving permission to do something on their property, I think.
Right. And they brought it up originally, and if you use that 10-foot strip, it almost eliminates all their trespass on town property until they get down by the parking lot.
Okay.
So it actually works really nicely. And if they could get that agreement, then we're only talking about a little section. Whereas, I mean, today they can go out there and there's no fence or anything. They can just walk on town property outside the 10-foot strip, which, you know, that's fine, but they're the ones that brought up the 10-foot strip. We didn't even know about it.
And I know the facilities director and his work down at town, at Haynes Park, as well as we've discussed, that the way to make it perfectly clear, because one of our concerns was walking these boats through by the playground area, and even though it's 6 o'clock, there might not be kids that play in there, but I've seen it at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, you see
Right,
kids.
they'll be there.
And you know, so that would eliminate, if a fence is put in there, that would eliminate having to worry about that. And in fact, another reason to fence in that area is half the park is fenced in. Our other parks are all fenced in, and especially when it comes to having a playground situation. And I know Phil Parchik made you know, of course there should be fenced in, so this way there's better control, especially if kids are running around and the parents aren't paying attention as far as the safety issue and security issue is concerned. So the plan is eventually to put a fence around the rest of the property. And like I said before, in the summer we've noticed that not this LLC, but motorboat guys have put trailers on park property and store boats there for I don't know how long, but we've noticed tire tracks on town property. The person that lives right on the lake we think that their fence is not in the proper position, and they requested if the town would be willing to sell them the property or give them the property to their well.
Right.
That was a non-starter too. But so it's town property, so the town has to be protected of any type of misuse of town property.
Correct.
Hey, Bob, one question too. This will probably be the last for me, but is there a sketch somewhere of where this path is?
Yes.
And if there is one, can someone forward that to me? I don't think I've ever seen that.
It was Exhibit A, and it was you in one of the emails. I believe you have it, but I will get it to you again, okay, and all the members.
Oh, well, no, if it's in one of the attachments, I'll find it. That's my fault. I just, as I was reading this, I was just curious as to where it exactly was. So that'll help. I'll find it.
Well,
Thanks.
okay, and if you don't find it, I can send you a copy of that. Yeah, and in fact, you know, because we do have survey of the whole town property, so that, you know, we know that people are using town property at the other end by where that granted driveway is.
Right, the driveways.
Yeah, and you know, because basically the town owns right up to the driveway. They gave back in, I don't know, the 30s, the right-of-way or whenever it was, well before our time, somebody gave the right-of-way to those houses down by the lake, so they could get in that way, I guess. But basically, the property goes right up to that right-of-way. Okay, and Brendan, if you can't find the path, I'd be glad to send it to you again.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, and I think that just about does it. Number 10, do we use it? The permittees must use the path and except as expressly provided herein. This agreement gives them no right to use any other portion of Haynes Park. No, to use this agreement gives them the ability to use the part of Haynes Park by the parking lot, which, if you look at the agreement with the Rowing Association and the school, of course they can use the parking lot, the bathroom, things on that side by the boathouse. The original thought was to keep the boathouse and rowing activities at that end of the park and not the rest of the park where people picnic or swim or play on the playground equipment, because that's supposed to be reserved for Old Lyme residents only. And so just because an out-of-towner can use parts of the park, but, you know, that were originally agreed upon, doesn't mean an out-of-towner should be using the rest of the park. And that's just it's an honesty thing, basically, and hopefully that people on the school and rowing association end let people know that that's part of the agreement. But anyway, so that's of course, I have no idea why that was deleted. So, and then 11 is pretty good. They follow all the rules, that's fine. Take additional out. Shall versus must also, it seemed okay. But the last one is, as Brendan spent a lot of time in the beginning on, is extremely important to protect the town. And this is what Mike from Sussman and Shapiro said should be there. So I really think most of this has to go back to what was originally in this agreement. And I certainly, after learning about material breach, this should not be in an agreement that's made by this organization or anybody on using town property. You're just opening yourself up, it seems, a lot to problems down the road. And I agree, Brendan, that it has to be in there that this is revocable by the town at will. Now, however, we're very fair people and we try to work with people. So if there's just minor misunderstandings about something, I'm sure that the LLC permittees or members or whatever you could call them could just work it out with Don Bugby. No problem. He knows how to deal with the situation over the years. Right, Don?
That's right, Bob.
Yep. Okay, so that basically gets through it. But I think it's important, and so did the attorney, that all members of the LLC read and sign this document, and that Tim Griswold, as selectman for the town of Old Lyme, would sign it, and I would as chair, and I would not put accepted and agreed upon. I don't know why that's why I would be the only person that have to agree to that, unless it's going to be what everybody signs and agrees on. But okay, so anybody else on this? I think we've pretty much covered it, and basically, since I don't know, I think that this has gone on much too long, and I'm sure that the Park and Rec commissioners are tired of dealing with this, so we want to wrap this up. So I was wondering if anyone would want to make a motion similar to what I'm going to read right here, and the motion would read, or if someone would make the motion, that the PRC has determined that many of the requested revisions by the Blood Street Partners LLC to the draft agreement are unacceptable because they remove key aspects of the compromise proposal that was agreed at the June 2020 Park and Rec meeting. And furthermore, the PRC requests that the LLC confirm their agreement to reinstate these key aspects of the proposed agreement, including but not limited to sections 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 12, or indicate they are unwilling to do so by March 1st. What does anybody think about that? Because this can't keep on going on and on. I mean,
No, it's gone on too long.
yeah. So, I mean, members from the LLC that didn't listen in here, because no one said that they were attending the meeting, but they could listen to the tape and listen to everything that was said. And plus, for attachments to this meeting, the document that I just went over that was sent to Brendan on 1/27 of 2021, I'd like this to be included, the red line version, in the as an attachment to the minutes, because we discussed all that. And secondly, I would like Greg Hack's document that he sent with their proposed agreement versus the original agreement be also attached to the minutes Mary Ellen, we can work that out, I'm sure, correct?
Yes, I just have to know which one of Greg Hacks you're referring to but I can talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I have the date written down, but I don't see it right in front of me. Yeah, but I can, okay, wait. It's
The one we discussed?
Yeah, it's the agreement on use path in Haynes Park, and I believe it came, what was it, like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? But I can get you I'll let you know exactly the one that he sent, okay? Okay. I don't seem to have that with me, the exact one, but, okay, but, I think, would someone want to make a motion similar to what I just read? The PRC has determined that many of the requested revisions to the draft agreement are unacceptable because they remove key aspects of the compromise proposal that was agreed at the June 2020 meeting. The PRC furthermore requests that the LLC confirm their agreement to reinstate these key aspects of the proposed agreement, including but not limited to sections 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 12, or indicate they are unwilling to do so by March 1st. Anybody?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, that's Glenn. You make the motion with some.
Yeah, it's Glenn. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Mary Ellen, I could get you this motion. So you know, yeah, I can send it to you. Would anybody like to second it?
I'll second it, Bob.
Okay, so that's Mary Ellen seconding that motion, okay? Any discussion about the motion? No? Nobody wants to
No.
Okay, so, hearing that there's no further discussion, we're gonna have a vote now. All those approve this motion, please say aye.
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 Mary Ellen.
Okay, say who you are when you say aye, or whatever, okay? So Mary Ellen, and who else?
Glenn.
Glenn? Anybody else? Tim? Was that you?
Missy.
Tim?
Missy? Tim, did you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't agree with a little bit of it, but, I mean, you just kind of threw out all the numbers in there.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I don't
basically,
hold
this is something that we can hopefully hammer out. As Brendan said, we could maybe
Yeah.
change some of these things. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, okay, but certainly this is just, you know, we have to say, you know, this has gone on a long time, and we have to end this. And basically, a lot of it is by removing things that were originally agreed upon is not copacetic. Okay, so that was, Brendan, how about you? Did you agree to this?
Agreed. Aye.
Okay, all right, so hearing that, we have, and I agree to it also, and that, is anyone opposed? No? Anybody abstain?
I'm abstaining, John Flower.
Yeah, John's gonna abstain at this point, okay? All right, so, we'll put this motion together, and then we'll send this, I will send this to the Blood Street Partners LLC, being Greg Hack, and let's see what happens, okay? Hopefully we can come to some resolution. All right. And I appreciate,
Sounds good.
yeah, I appreciate the patience that everyone has to go through all this. Okay, now we're down to the new business. And I just said, any new business? Hearing none, we'll go on then to public comment. Anybody public comment? Okay, hearing none, we get to the favorite part of the movie. Would somebody like to make the part of the movie, of the meeting, which it almost is like a movie. But anyway, so would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? A motion to adjourn? Or everybody just wants to sit around?
Missy, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, anyone second that?
I second, Brendan.
Okay. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right, okay, anyone opposed? No? Anybody abstain?
I'll abstain.
Okay, you can abstain. All right, so, thank you all for attending, and it's a little longer than our normal meetings, but I think we got a lot accomplished. And everyone have a good evening, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, right, bye.
Brendan, thank you for.
Yeah, Brendan, thank you very much for your help. Yeah, that was very helpful. Okay,
The meeting was adjourned at 7:40.
okay, all right, 7:40.